Welcome back. Previously, we have designed a very simple way to display our fragments obtained from different data sources by simply assigning these string arrays to our item source of our list views. But we are not going to go very far with that. So what I suggest is that we create a special class for our fragments. So before we do that, we will use some properties and we will bind to them. I believe it is more than justified to install a NuGet package called property_change.fod. So in browse, just type fod and we need this one, property_change.fod. Okay, let's install it. And when you install this property_change.fod, it automatically installs fod as well. Alright, now it is installed, but usually fod is not of the latest version. And let's install the latest table, press install, and I accept. And usually you will get this message that this package failed to uninstall. Restart Visual Studio to finish the process. So press this button. Alright, I have restarted Visual Studio. Now let's check our NuGet packages again. Okay, good. Now we have the latest version installed. Now let's start creating our class. Right click on your project, select add, and press class. I will name it base fragment. So let's start creating it. So this will be our base class for fragments. It will be public because we are going to have properties. I will derive it from I notify property changed. Press Ctrl dot and include using system component model. Now press Ctrl dot again because it requires implementing interface. So public event property changed event handler property changed. Let's type equals delegate open and close curly braces. We also need a method, so type protected void raise property changed, and it will accept property name as a string. So string property name. So this is how it will know what property was changed. Var handlers equals property changed. This is it. And then handlers this and new property changed event args, and here we pass property name. And I'm using Visual Studio 2022, and as you see, it now automatically suggests pieces of code. Maybe it was there before, but I have not noticed it. But it seems very accurate, and most of the time it is exactly what I need. Tab. So these were the basic necessary steps, but now we need properties. So, well, first of all, let's go to our UI, window align fragments. So right now we just display strings as separate rows, but we absolutely necessarily need their IDs, because when we are going to match them, we need some sort of a pointer, and using only string it is impossible to achieve. So let's create properties for the ID and the text. First, create new region for public properties. Alright, now, well, we need ID, public int ID, get and set, and let's leave a summary here, the numeric ID of a fragment. And another property of type string, public string text, again, get and set, and this is going to be the text of a fragment. This is the sole purpose of this class, but also I will create some additional methods. So region public methods and region. Well, first of all, I'm going to override the toString method so that it automatically calls the text property. If I create a class instance of base fragment and use it anywhere without specifying any specific property, it will automatically call the toString method, which will call its text property. So public override string toString, and we will simply return text here. Let's leave a summary, get the and we will reference the text property of a fragment, and it returns the text property of a fragment. Also, for testing purposes, I'm going to create another method, public static list of type base fragment, and I will call it get default items. And as you see, its name suggestions are good as well. So what this method is going to do is it will return a few default items. So let's leave a summary here. Get 10 default base fragment class instances. It returns a list of 10 default base fragment class instances. So first of all, we'll create this list. So create a list, and here list base fragment items equals new list base fragment. Then we will create a loop, and we will iterate 10 times for int I equals 0, I is less than 10, I plus plus. Or rather, well, we can actually use plus plus I. So first we will add a new item to the list. So items.add new base fragment. Then its ID equals I, its text equals default text value. Let's do it like this. I. And semicolon here. And then we will return the list. So return items. Oh, actually we need to put it outside the for loop, like this. Next we should change our UI, because right now we accept only strings. So our first list view, and by the way, when you click your list view, you have suggestions, and here you have show sample data, and if you click it, it shows sample items, and it's added here. Okay, so because we will use this class with more than one public property that we are going to display here, we will need columns. And this is a built-in option for any list view. So here type list view view and grid view. And we need two columns here. So grid view column, its header is going to be ID, its width is going to be 35, and we will bind it to the column called ID. So display member binding, type binding ID. Okay, now let's duplicate this line. Its head is going to be text, and we will bind it to the property called text, which is here. And that's it. That's the only thing that you need to do in your UI. And if you choose to show sample data now, you will see that now it has two different columns. I believe we do not need to set a specific width here, because it should extend as far as possible. And we simply need to copy this list view into our second list view here. And we do not need to change anything, because target fragments will have their IDs and texts as well. Now go to the Windows backend, and in our loaded event we simply assigned the item source of our list views to the string array. But instead of this, we will create fragments from strings and fill list views. So we're going to create a method called create fragments and fill list views. Okay, and we will just need to create this method. So for example here, public void create fragments and fill list views, and let's give it a summary. Well, we can just copy this line. Create fragments from strings and fill list views. And what we are going to do here is simply loop through all fragments. So let's type loop through all source string fragments. Well, as you understand, we will have two loops, and the reason why we do not use just one is because in the data sources window we can input a different number of fragments. For example, 5 here but 10 here. So for int I equals 0, I is less than m source fragments length, and I++. And here we first create a new fragment, var base fragment equals new base fragment, and its ID is going to be I, and its text is going to be m source fragments I. Its ID is going to be taken by order, so 0, 1, 2, and so on, as it appeared in the data sources window. And we get the needed string simply using the index. Put a semicolon here, and after we have created a new fragment, we need to add the fragment to the source list view. And now instead of item source, we will use its items. So list view 1 dot items dot add and our base fragment. And we can just now copy this and put it here. So loop through all target string fragments. We check it against m target fragments length, and we take it from m target fragments by index, and we add the fragment to the target list view, so it's list view 2. Now we can check how it looks. Alright, let me just put some sample data. Alright, so I have a different number of fragments here, and I press align to text. And as you see now, they have their indices and their text. So we have created the base fragment class, but before finishing this video up, I will simply provide backend for our update button in the data sources window. So go to window data sources. Here must be our button update. Navigate here. So here we will, well, there are different ways how you can implement the update mechanics, but one of most simple ones is to launch a dedicated program for it. So launch the update program. Now let's put it in the try catch block, because we do not want to lose our data in the data sources window. So try to start the update program. So process, press Ctrl dot, hit enter, dot start, and here goes the name of your update program. For example, update.exe, and this assumes that this program lies in the same folder as your main program. And you can also pass some parameters to it. For example, check now. But of course, this program should recognize the parameters that you are going to pass. Assume that this will go to a website, check the latest version, and if it is newer, it is going to update the program. But if it is not newer, it will do nothing. But if there is an error, and the simplest error could be that this file can be just absent. So catch exception ex, and we will show the error message. So message box.show, and first we will show ex message, and then we will insert a blank line, environment new line, and then we will type the product page will be opened. So if, for example, there is any error, like you don't have the update program, it will simply open the page for this product, and users will be able to update it manually. So here we will open the product page. So process.start, and here you will put the URL address to your website where this product is contained. As always, I will just put the link to my YouTube channel. To test it, well, right now we simply hide this button by default. I do it because I do not have a website dedicated to this program, and just change visibility to visible simply to test it. Okay, and now I can press this update button. It did not find the file that we specified, and so the products page will be open. And this is the code exception. Press OK and your browser will be opened. And there you have it. And I will simply change it to collapsed because I do not have a website for it. But of course, when you are going to sell your products, you should have a dedicated website, either for your company or for a specific product like this one. So thank you for watching, and if you are tough, try to share this video, and see you later.